Just a few years ago, if you asked anyone in Europe to name the company leading the future of electric cars, Tesla would be the undisputed answer. Founded by Elon Musk, a global celebrity and self-styled disruptor, Tesla was synonymous with the electric vehicle revolution. Its Model 3 and Model Y became status symbols, its superchargers a common sight along highways, and its share price the envy of automakers worldwide. But as of this year, the European EV landscape has been shaken to its core. Something unprecedented has happened. A new player has muscled past Tesla's crown, and it didn't arrive from California, it came from China. In April, for the first time ever, BYD outsold Tesla in Europe's electric vehicle market. The difference might look small on the surface: 7,231 BYD electric vehicles registered versus 7,165 Teslas. But behind these numbers is a story of global ambition, technological chess, and a looming question. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end for Tesla's dominance, or just the opening moves of a new, unpredictable EV rivalry? How did BYD, a name barely whispered in Europe just a few years ago, explode onto the scene and threaten the icon of Silicon Valley? Can Europe's own automakers survive the heat as these two giants clash over the continent's future? And perhaps most crucially, what does this mean for the future of cars, jobs, and technology in Europe and beyond? Let's break down what's really happening inside the most fiercely contested market in the world, where money flows, fortunes are made and lost, and the future is anything but certain. To understand why BYD's victory is so significant, we need to rewind the tape. The European electric car market, long seen as Tesla's playground, is not just about cars, it's about geopolitics, economics, and technological strategy. For years, Tesla enjoyed near-mythical status, racing ahead with a charismatic story, relentless innovation, and first-mover advantage. But what was once a one-horse race is now bursting with competitors. Among them, BYD stands out as China's biggest electric vehicle powerhouse, and its journey to this point is a masterclass in strategic disruption. BYD, short for Build Your Dreams, was founded in 1995 not as a car company, but as a rechargeable battery manufacturer in Shenzhen. For years, it supplied batteries to giants like Nokia and Motorola. But by the 2000s, BYD pivoted to cars, focusing early on electric and hybrid technologies when most automakers still scoffed at the idea. While Tesla made headlines for futuristic designs and bold promises, BYD quietly built an empire in the world's largest car market, China. Their formula? Unbeatable value, relentless cost-cutting, and vertical integration. BYD makes its own batteries, chips, and even electric motors. Fast forward to late 2022, BYD officially launches in Europe. At first, industry insiders were skeptical. Europe was supposed to be Tesla's backyard, a market of discerning buyers who wanted the best, not the cheapest. But BYD's approach was different. Instead of going all in on luxury, they brought a full lineup, from ultra-fashionable sedans to the tiniest city cars, from SUVs to plug-in hybrids, all at price points that left Western rivals gasping for air. And then, in April 2025, the bombshell: BYD's European registrations jump 359% year-on-year, while Tesla's tumble by nearly half. The headlines roar: BYD outsells Tesla in Europe, a moment Felipe Munoz of Giotto Dynamics calls a watershed moment for Europe's car market. Why was this possible? The answer lies in a swirl of trends, some driven by technology, others by politics and economics. European consumers are hungry for affordable electric cars, and BYD delivers. Last week, they launched the European version of their Chinese bestseller, the Dolphin Surf. A compact, city-friendly EV, it starts at just €19,990, or about $22,700, undercutting even the most aggressive Western competitors like the Volkswagen ID.3 by nearly a third. In a cost-of-living crisis, this isn't just a bargain, it's a game-changer. But it's not just about price. BYD's European lineup now stretches from entry-level runabouts to ultra-luxury flagship cars and SUVs, filling niches that Tesla has ignored. And BYD backs it all up with plug-in hybrid options, a pragmatic choice for Europeans living between big cities and rural regions where charging still lags behind. Europe's own automakers? They're scrambling. Renault's new 5 is clawing back market share, making up over half of Renault's EV volume since registrations began in mid-2024. Volkswagen's ID series is fighting valiantly, but margins are thin and costs are high. The pressure is immense, and some in the industry whisper that a brutal price war is only just beginning. If all this sounds familiar, it should. These are the playbooks that fueled Japan's rise in the 1970s and South Korea's in the 1990s. But there's a twist. BYD is not just exporting cars, it's building factories. By 2026, BYD will open a massive production hub in Hungary, making it harder for Brussels to slap on tariffs or slow them down with red tape. They're already hiring, training, laying foundations for years, even decades of European presence. Industry analysts are sounding the alarm. Liz Lee at Counterpoint Research says, Europe is emerging as a central battleground between BYD and Tesla, with higher EV market growth expected here than even in China this year. Neil King at EV Volumes forecasts a 15% jump in European EV sales just in 2025, over 3.5 million cars, while Matthias Schmidt predicts the market could hit 7.8 million EVs by 2030. The future? Fiercely competitive, and possibly dominated by brands few people in Berlin or Paris had even heard of just a few years ago. Tesla, meanwhile, isn't standing still, but cracks are beginning to show. Its monthly numbers are down. Model Y registrations have plunged 53% compared to last year. Model 3 is down 41%. Elon Musk's polarizing political antics, from public feuds to cozying up to controversial U.S. figures, aren't winning fans in Europe, where environmental policies and social issues matter deeply. With BYD launching fresh models almost every quarter and local upstarts like Renault and Volkswagen refusing to roll over, Tesla faces its toughest challenge to date. Observers like Gene Munster at Loop Ventures note, Tesla's brand is still strong, but BYD's lower prices and increasing quality are putting pressure on Tesla's market share in Europe. And that's not even accounting for looming threats. Government incentives in Europe are fading, economic headwinds are rising, and consumers are facing price hikes almost everywhere except on Chinese brands. Yet BYD's story isn't all smooth sailing. Europe is a notoriously difficult market, full of regulatory hurdles, brand snobbery, and demanding customers. BYD's cars, while cheap and technologically advanced, still face skepticism about quality and after-sales service. And then, there's the geopolitical elephant in the room. Chinese investment has become a lightning rod for fears about jobs, security, and unfair competition. As BYD's Hungarian factory comes online, expect louder calls for protectionism and EU investigations into state subsidies. The fight isn't just about cars, it's about the soul of Europe's industrial future. Still, for now, the numbers don't lie. BYD's growth in Europe is exponential, and their strategy is meticulously calculated. Ian Fletcher at S&P Global Mobility warns that the European battery electric vehicle market faces a worsening outlook amid shifting economic conditions and reduced government incentives. But that's exactly when disruptors like BYD thrive, when the old guard is caught off guard. As we look ahead, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will BYD's bet on local production and aggressive pricing crush European rivals and force Tesla to rethink its global strategy? Or will a backlash, political or consumer-driven, halt the Chinese juggernaut at Europe's gates? One thing is certain. The era of easy wins for Tesla and other Western EV makers in Europe is over. As Tesla's star dims and BYD's rises, a new question looms. What happens when technology, politics, and raw economic muscle collide? As BYD prepares to open the doors to its new Hungarian factory and Tesla strategizes its next move, Europe braces itself for a seismic battle that could decide the automotive future for a generation to come. But as 2025 unfolds and the numbers tick upward, there's more turbulence on the horizon. Can BYD's strategy truly deliver sustained dominance, or will Europe's governments, consumers, and automotive titans strike back to preserve their turf? Will quality, service, and trust prove barriers too great for BYD to scale? Or are we looking at a future where Chinese innovation, not Silicon Valley cool, sets the standard for the world's roads? The answers lie just ahead, and the next chapter is about to be written. But what comes next for BYD and for the European EV market, as this watershed moment sends shockwaves through the industry? Let's dive into the future, the risks and opportunities, and what it all means for you as a consumer or investor. The immediate aftermath of BYD overtaking Tesla is a sense of urgency. European automakers, who once stood by their premium brands and legacy engineering, now face a challenger that plays by different rules: relentless affordability, a broad product portfolio, and the willingness to localize quickly. Yet this is just the beginning. Experts are calling Europe the central battleground, not just for BYD and Tesla, but for the entire global EV industry. Liz Lee from Counterpoint Research puts it this way: Europe is emerging as a central battleground between BYD and Tesla, with higher EV market growth expected than in China this year. That means stakes are high, and so are the uncertainties. Let's look at the opportunities first. BYD's expansion could supercharge the EV transition. With the Dolphin Surf priced under €20,000, suddenly, millions more drivers across Europe may find EVs within reach. This democratization of e-mobility is exactly what policymakers have dreamed of. If battery prices keep dropping and range improves, as technological trends suggest, the market could grow even faster than the 15% year-over-year increase forecasted for 2025. But there's another side to the story. With BYD's success, the specter of a full-on price war looms over the European market. As Felipe Munoz from Giotto Dynamics said, the implications of this month's numbers are enormous. If Tesla, Volkswagen, Renault, and others are forced to slash prices or launch budget models to defend their turf, profit margins could evaporate. Some brands could find themselves squeezed out altogether. Then there's the regulatory gauntlet. BYD's Hungary factory is a bold move, a clear bet on long-term European entrenchment. But European policymakers are already sounding the alarm over cheap Chinese EVs flooding the market. Tariffs, quotas, or even strict local content rules could appear suddenly, threatening to increase costs for BYD just as it gains momentum. Such backlash could slow its progress or prompt BYD to accelerate local partnerships, joint ventures, or even acquisitions of struggling European brands. Geopolitics adds another layer of unpredictability. As European economies grapple with inflation and the aftermath of pandemic-era spending, policymakers are balancing industrial policy with consumer interests. Any worsening of EU-China relations might not only trigger trade tensions, but also disrupt supply chains for batteries and raw materials. That would affect everyone: BYD, Tesla, and local players alike. Let's not forget consumer sentiment, a wild card in this game. While BYD's pricing is eye-catching, some European buyers remain cautious about brand perception, build quality, and the after-sales experience offered by a newcomer. Will BYD's tech and reliability win over hearts and minds? Early reviews of models like the Dolphin Surf suggest it's closing the quality gap fast, but trust takes time to build. Technology could also flip the game board. Breakthroughs in solid-state batteries or ultra-fast charging might give an edge to whichever company brings them to market first. So too with software. Tesla still leads in over-the-air updates and in-cabin tech, but BYD is investing heavily to catch up. The next few years may see consumers making choices as much about digital experience as hardware specs. So what happens if the price war intensifies? We could see a repeat of what happened in China, where some brands grew rapidly, only to collapse under financial strain, unable to compete with the likes of BYD on cost and manufacturing efficiency. Europe's more mature market may cushion the blow, but analysts warn that 2 or 3 big winners could emerge while a dozen also-rans fall by the wayside. There's also the question of incentives. As Ian Fletcher from S&P Global Mobility warns, the EU battery electric vehicle market faces a worsening outlook amid shifting economic conditions and reduced government incentives. If subsidies disappear while prices fall, consumer demand may plateau, and only the most resilient companies will thrive. But there's optimism as well. Matthias Schmidt from Schmidt Automotive Research forecasts that Western Europe's EV sales could hit 7.8 million annually by 2030, 57% of the market. That sort of growth would mean opportunity for everyone, from legacy OEMs to disruptive newcomers like BYD. Where does all of this leave you, the viewer? Whether you're thinking of buying an EV, investing in automakers, or simply fascinated by tech revolutions, the lessons from BYD's rise are practical and immediate. First, for buyers, competition is your friend. BYD's aggressive entry means more choices at lower prices and will likely force established brands to innovate, improve features, and cut costs. If you've been hesitant about switching to an EV because of price or range anxiety, now is the time to revisit the market. Watch for more affordable models like the Dolphin Surf, and for established brands to respond with enhanced offerings and better warranties. Second, for investors, disruption is accelerating. The traditional auto industry's slow pivot to electrification is being upended not just by Tesla, but by newcomers like BYD who've mastered scale, supply chains, and speed. Look for companies that demonstrate agility, invest in local production, and maintain strong cash reserves. Those who are slow to adapt may face existential risk. Third, for policymakers and industry observers, BYD's playbook is a case study in strategic adaptation, low-cost entry, rapid model refreshes, and localization. These are the levers that win new markets. But the balance between open markets and industrial policy will be tested as never before. The choices Europe makes in the next 2 years will shape not only who wins the EV wars, but also the trajectory of clean transportation across the continent. A personal tip: if you're an early adopter or EV enthusiast, broaden your research. BYD may be a new name in your country, but its roots in battery technology run deep. Test drive, compare, and don't dismiss quality just because a brand is unfamiliar. The next great automotive story might begin in a showroom you've never visited. And here's a secret fact you may not know. BYD isn't just a car manufacturer. It started as a rechargeable battery maker back in 1995 and quietly built a global empire powering everything from smartphones to electric buses. Today's EV dominance is the result of decades refining its battery chemistry and, crucially, owning its own supply chain. That's the hidden edge that makes BYD harder to dislodge than many rivals realize. So, can BYD sustain its momentum? The evidence suggests it has a real shot. With new models launching, a production hub in Hungary on the way, and an unrelenting focus on costs and localization, BYD looks poised to become a permanent fixture in Europe's car landscape. But the fight back is already underway. Expect Tesla to double down on innovation, European giants to lobby for regulatory shields, and new players to use software or battery breakthroughs as their ticket back into the game. The ultimate winner? Likely those who listen to customers, move fast, and embrace the challenge of change. Because BYD's rise proves that in the electric age, standing still is not an option. What do you think? Will BYD change how you view your next car? Will the price wars work in your favor, or will the new era of competition bring unintended consequences? Let us know in the comments where you stand. Make sure to subscribe for the latest insights because we'll be following this epic EV showdown every step of the way. If you found this analysis helpful, give us a like. It helps the algorithm and brings these crucial stories to more